Hey everybody, and Happy New Year. This video is for our kindergarten through first grade team for January week 1. So we are starting a brand new theme this month, and it's called Work It Out, Stick to the Plan, and the life app for this month is commitment, making a plan and putting it into practice. The memory verse for the month, it's kind of a long one this month, from 1 Timothy 4:8. It says, training the body has some value, and kids will run in place, but being godly has value in every way. So they'll point up and then kind of move their arms out to the side like this, like in every way. It promises help for the life you are living now. So you're going to cross hands over your heart and then point down, and the life to come, and then you'll point up. So that's a long one for our little ones to practice. This week, week 1, our story is coming from Matthew 7. It's a very familiar story about the wise man who built his house on the rock and the foolish man who built his house on the sand. And our bottom line for this week is practice hearing and doing what God says. So we're also starting something really cool this month, just to practice the art of commitment. We are going to be passing these out to all the kids this month. So obviously week 1, everyone will get one, and then you'll just kind of need to keep track of, have the kiddos in your small group been here yet this month, and if they haven't, you'll give them one the following weeks. So it just kind of helps kids practice the bottom lines for the week. And then there's this little section over here that says devotionals, and stapled to the back of this are going to be little, they call these God time cards, and they're going to be little devotionals for each week. So this is for week 1. And it says our bottom line on here, and it tells kids what to do a few different days out of the week, and then it has a coloring page on the back. So there will be 4 of these stapled together, one for each week in January. So you'll give your kids or the parents, when they come to pick them up, one of these packets, and you're just going to tell them this is just to practice commitment, because that's what we're talking about all month long. So let's hop into what you guys are going to be doing this week. As you arrive in your rooms at 8:30 and 10:30, just make sure to take a couple minutes to just stop what you're doing and just pray. Pray for your small group. Pray for your personal relationship with God. Just pray that kids are able to grasp the concept of hearing from God. And then just ask God for the wisdom and knowledge to help you unpack that to kindergartners and first graders this week. Then as kids start to roll in at 8:40 and 10:40 and are playing with toys, ask about their week, get to know their names. Make sure if you have any first-time kids that you're really doing your absolute best to make them feel welcome and comfortable. And then a couple of questions that you could ask are, what are wise choices that you've made this week, and have you made any foolish choices this week? Then for the intro activity, you're going to play a little game called Foolish or Wise. So you don't need anything to play the game. And first you're going to talk about, okay guys, what does wise mean? Yeah, it means making good choices. And what does foolish mean? Yeah, it might mean making bad choices. And then you're going to ask them a series of wise and foolish questions. And you're going to tell the kids, you guys are going to show me if this is something wise to do or something foolish to do with your bodies. So if it's wise, you're going to stand up really tall and you're going to give me a thumbs up. And if it's foolish, you're going to squat and you're going to give me a thumbs down. So riding an alligator to school, is that wise or foolish? So hopefully they would squat and give you a thumbs down. Asking a monkey to do your homework. So obviously some of these, a lot of them are really, really, really silly. So like a wise one, drink water if you're thirsty. Yes, that would be wise. So then you can keep going. You can slow down. You can whisper. Oh, what about building a house on a volcano? And that just kind of keeps their interest. And you can say, really, you guys think it would be foolish to use a porcupine for a pillow? I thought porcupines were soft and cuddly. Why would that be foolish? And that just kind of helps keep the game a little fun. So then you'll close it down by saying, you guys definitely know how to make wise choices. And in our story today, we're going to hear about a person who made a wise choice and a person who made a foolish choice. So let's go down to large group and we're going to hear more. So then just walk with your kids down to large group and sit with them, worship with them, listen with them to the story. Then when you get back, you're going to do an activity called Built on the Rock. And this isn't completely put together yet. This is the memory verse activity, and you kind of need to do this before the other activity. You'll see why. So down at the bottom of your cards, you will have a bin that's going to be full of little crinkle paper. And all these little blocks are going to be buried in the crinkle paper. And these blocks have lines from the memory verse taped onto them. So what kids are going to do is you're going to set that tub with the little crinkle paper and the buried blocks in the middle. And first service, you'll have to kind of rebury these blocks for second service before you leave. And you're going to tell the kids that pieces of their memory verse are buried in the sand. So they're going to pretend like these pieces of paper are sand. So you're going to let the kids take turns digging through to find a piece, and then they'll give the piece to you. And when they find all the pieces, you can split your kids into 2 groups and give each group a Bible. So we got brand new Bibles in kindergarten and first grade. Don't tell 2nd through 4th graders. And these are actually NIRV Bibles. So they actually match up to the NIRV verses that we have. So the verses are already inside the Bible on the 1 Timothy page. So you'll just have to tell the kids to open up to that page and then look for the big 4 and the little 8. So there's some more guidelines for kindergarten and first graders. And so read the verse out loud, maybe practice it with motions. It's a long one. And then you're going to give each team, you're going to give your small group their set of blocks and help them put the words together in order. And then, so we only have 1 set of blocks, so you're not going to be able to do that as teams. So you'll just do that all together. And then you're just going to kind of unpack what the verse means. So you're going to say, so guys, what does it mean to train the body? Yeah, it means to do things to make us stronger. And what are some ways that we could train our body? We could exercise. So what do you think it means to be godly? Yeah, to be godly means that we want to please God and become more like him. And it means that we hear what he says and do what he says. So that's our bottom line for today. Practice hearing and doing what God says. And 1 Timothy 4:8 tells us that training our bodies is good, but training ourselves to be godly is way better. So how can we practice hearing and doing what God says? So see if kids come up with reading their Bible or listening to Bible stories and doing what they say, or learning their Bible verses, or this could be a good time to bring this up. This is how we can do what the Bible says. Great idea, guys. And then you can make it personal. Tell the kids one way that you will practice hearing and doing what God says. And then just remind them, so guys, this week, remember, our bottom line is practice hearing and doing what God says. All right, so now that you've got your blocks out of your shredded paper, you're going to do a little review activity. So you're going to have the kids work together to build block towers with those blocks. So the first time you're going to have them build it on the crinkle paper, and they're going to try to build a tower on top of the crinkle paper. And that's going to kind of represent the sand. So you could say, like, do you guys think these towers are really strong and sturdy? And what do you think will happen if we shake it? And how is this like our Bible story today? And then you're going to have a brick on your cart, and you're going to have the kids build their tower again on top of that brick. And then compare it. Which one is stronger? Which one let you build a taller tower? So then you'll close down by saying, so which is better? A house built on rock or a house built on sand? Why? So a house on sand doesn't stand up. A house built on rock is stronger. So why do you think Jesus told the story of the 2 houses? So it says this could be a really tough questions for kids. So give them a little bit of time to think. They're thinking, let their brains work a little bit. Even if it's silent, that's okay. And then see what they come up with. And you can close by saying, so Jesus told us that a person who hears his words but doesn't do what he says is like somebody who builds a house on sand. And when trouble comes, they're not safe because the sand washes away. And what people who hear and do what Jesus says are like people who build their house on a solid rock. When trouble comes, they stay safe. And Jesus wants us to make the wise choice. He wants us to know what he says and to do what he says. So remember, this week, practice hearing and doing what God says. So then as you pray, you're just going to read these little scenarios below. And if the person in the scenario heard and did what Jesus said, have kids give you a thumbs up. And if they heard what Jesus said, but they didn't do it, have them give you a thumbs down. You can choose if you want to have them stand or squat. Then there's just these little scenarios. So just applying it one more time. And then you'll just close by saying, so guys, 1 Timothy 4:8 tells us that training our body has some value, but being godly has value in every way. And one way we can be godly is by hearing and doing what Jesus says. Okay, so remember, we're going to practice hearing and doing what Jesus says. So then just lead kids in a closing prayer, just asking God to help you and the kids practice hearing and doing what Jesus says. And then as parents come, just make sure that you pass out your parent cue cards for the month along with your commitment packets. And just encourage kids to tell their parents what they learned about today. So that's it, guys. I'm super excited for 2018, for this new year. Thank you so much for serving this week, and I will see you all on Sunday.